going to be talking about the issue of Ozempic, and I know there has been a lot of talk on the station already about its medical applications and about it being used off-label for weight control purposes. Our approach today is a slightly different one. We are looking at a more commercial angle, which is the question of less than reputable online sellers cashing in on people's desperation to get hold of this drug and others like it. So we're going to look at 2 case studies of people who attempted to buy online with disastrous results. I know several shows have dealt with some of the medical aspects of this, including our own. We are looking at it, though, from a consumer angle, because inevitably, when there is high demand for an item and it's in short supply, the less than ethical, to be kind, let's call them the less than ethical. They will spot the gap and they will use it, Wendy, to exploit the desperate customer. And we've actually got 2 cases to highlight today. Before we get to those, though, I think it is worthwhile just starting with a brief summary of the legitimate medical applications and what the law says at the moment. Just take us through a little bit of background on Ozempic.
I certainly learned something in researching this topic. As you say, it's not a usual consumer issue, and I hadn't really applied myself until I got these cases. So Ozempic is one of the glucagon-like peptide 1s. What a mouthful. Better known as GLP-1s. They were formulated to treat type 2 diabetes by managing blood sugar levels and are taken by injection into whatever parts of the body you choose, usually once a week. So Ozempic is manufactured by Novo Nordisk and contains the active ingredient semaglutide. The other common varieties are Mounjaro and Zepbound. These names. They contain the active ingredient tirzepatide. And they are made by Eli Lilly and Company.
Okay, now besides treating diabetes, we know that they have proven to be effective for weight loss.
Pictures.
Everybody knows about these cases. Now, Wendy, in the USA, the Food and Drug Administration has approved their use for both applications, both for managing type 2 diabetes and for managing chronic weight issues.
Chronic being the
emphasis, But again, in both of those cases, you have to have a prescription from a legitimate source to access those drugs. What about in South Africa? What's their standing here?
Okay, so here Ozempic is registered in different doses in a pen form for the treatment and control of type 2 diabetes. In combination with diet and exercise, there's always that proviso. It's also registered for use to reduce the risk of heart attack and stroke or death in adults with type 2 diabetes with known heart disease, but it is not registered here for weight management at all. The same applies to Mounjaro. It's registered in a variety of different doses of pen applications for the treatment of type 2 diabetes mellitus. But according to SAHPRA, which is the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority, it has not yet been imported into South Africa via Eli Lilly's distribution channels. So it may be here through illegitimate, non-authorized channels, but it's not here officially yet.
Okay, that's Mounjaro.
Yes, and as is the case with Ozempic, Mounjaro is currently not registered in this country for weight management. It's also worth noting that its own manufacturer warns against using tirzepatide for cosmetic weight loss and has cautioned that unapproved versions can be risky as they are not safety reviewed.
Okay, so nobody is saying they don't work for weight loss, but the bottom line here is that there are very specific medical applications and medical management
I'd like to
required.
To drop 10 kgs before Christmas
summer,
and so I'm going to get my hands on this drug no matter what.
Okay, so in short, it can be issued by a pharmacist on presentation of a script, but doctors have got to be careful in issuing those scripts. They're being scrutinized closely. And that leads us to
black market.
The situation we have today, which is why customers are trying to get it through the back door, as it were, and taking some risks in the process. Now, 2 case studies today, both of them women who reached out to Wendy independently of one another with very, very similar stories. And Wendy, we're going to start with a short chat about the one who didn't want to come on air, and then we'll have a slightly longer conversation with the victim in this case, who is brave enough to share her story on air with us. Tell us what happened to Danita, though.
So Danita, which is her real name, she just wasn't comfortable joining us on air. She placed an order for Ozempic online from a company called Juice Heaven. Not really the ideal name to get
pharmaceutical drugs from.
Exactly.
Okay,
she paid 3,200 Rand and received her delivery a week later. But when she opened the package, it contained the wrong drug. She had been sent clenbuterol, which is also used off-label to control weight loss, although its primary application is for treating asthma.
It's a steroid that's
It's
yeah
a steroid.
that is
I didn't
an
know
asthma
that.
drug.
I didn't know.
Familiar with it,
Yes,
but
okay.
okay, not with its use as a weight loss drug though. Yeah.
Okay, so Danita logged a return request with Juice Heaven, but nothing's happened since then. She says her emails are being ignored. She has not received a refund, and nor has anyone come to collect the parcel for return, although they're claiming they have. I can't prove it. She says, I saved up for months to be able to afford this product, and now my money is gone, and I don't have anything to show for it. So much for trying to support small local businesses. She posted, as did Laura, a negative review on Hello Peter, which did prompt a response from Juice Heaven, but not the response she'd hoped for. The company contacted Hello Peter and asked it to remove the review, saying that it was incorrect and that she, Danita, had failed to respond to their attempts to facilitate the return. Danita disputes this and stands by her review. She's challenged Juice Heaven to provide proof that they have been trying to get hold of her, saying she's had neither a phone call nor an email, nor any refund or collection at the time of coming to air, and I don't think that's going to change.
Okay, so she placed the order. They sent her something else. She tried to return it immediately, and she now sits with a supply of clenbuterol she didn't want, none of the Ozempic she'd actually ordered, and no money returned to her or return facilitated. So that's Danita's case. Very similar was the case of Laura in Fishhook, who and it has to be said, Laura has been using these drugs to manage her diabetes under medical management.
Exactly. Hers was mainly a diabetes thing, although she has lost a lot
and I'm
of
sure
weight.
she will tell us that in a moment. She's standing by to share her story. But in her case, it was a case of shortage of supply and difficulty getting the drugs that led her to investigate, was there perhaps another way to find them? And that is how she too ended up on the Juice Heaven website. Laura, we're so grateful to you for joining us to share your experience. Thank you very, very much for being willing to do so, and welcome to Cape Talk.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. And listening to the whole story, I am so ashamed and embarrassed of my whole ordeal, but happy to share so that it doesn't happen to anybody else.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I've been telling Laura not to be hard on herself, because for those people who were saying, oh, how could you be so silly as to buy from that site? Well, whatever your vulnerability is will make you, or you whatever you need and can't get will make you vulnerable to these sorts of exploitative
practices.
endeavors.
Because
Yes.
Laura, the bottom line is you've had great success managing your diabetes on these drugs, haven't you? Tell us a little bit about the background before we get to what happened with Juice Heaven.
So absolutely, it has been it's been a great journey for me with regards to bringing my diabetes down. Of course, it does call your cravings for sugar, and you're not hungry as much as you would be normally. So you're not eating bad choices. And I mean, my sugars come down incredibly, and my doctor is amazed, and we were excited about this, and he gave me a script for Ozempic and said, go, like, fly with the wind. You've got this is it, and it's been successful. But I just battled to find, Dischem, clicks, like everywhere. I literally called the whole of Cape Town, the whole of Johannesburg, even contacted friends overseas. Where do I get my hands on like the real thing? I've got a prescription. I've got a real disease that I'm trying to maintain. I don't want to, get more obese and more, more in trouble with my diabetes. This is really working for me. And then, of course, I went to the internet, and of course, Juice Heaven popped up. And that's where.
So I just want to reiterate again, I mean, and I think it's so important we keep this in mind. Laura is legitimately using this to manage diabetes, which is what it is intended for, under a doctor's management with a legitimate prescription. You did find your way to Juice Heaven in desperation because you couldn't find stock from legitimate pharmaceutical sources in South Africa, and you placed an order. It was in the middle of November. Is that right, Laura?
Yes, on the 11th of November. I thought, wow, this is amazing. Because if you go onto their site, they've got 3 logos of like Body Farm. It looks really legit. And I thought about it, and I thought no. And then I thought, oh, it's just before Christmas. I don't want to be without it. I don't want to have to deal with all these Christmas lunches and going away and all these functions that I have to deal with. I need to just make sure that because you feel really good on the medication because you're not sky high on your sugar. So I thought, let me buy 2 to what, I don't even know how to say the word.
Tirzepatide.
Trizepatide. Trizepatide. Can't even say it. And I placed the order and I thought, okay, I'm in. This is awesome. I'm now going to be okay for December.
And then the first red flag, Laura, was there was a delay in delivery of that order, despite I think you're having fast-tracked the order. It did eventually come, and when you opened up the packet, what was inside was not what you had ordered. Is that correct?
Yes, it was steroids. And I thought to myself,
as Danita.
Yeah.
I thought, why are you ordering from a place that sells steroids? It's like I felt, no offense to people who use them, but I felt like, oh my word, like I've literally, I just felt awful.
Now,
and then I contacted them.
Yeah.
And then that's my story. And
I'd like you to share, Laura, if you wouldn't mind, what you told me, that the person you dealt with, his name was Bryce. I've seen all the email correspondence, but you said to him that you were going to report the experience to me, and you got a mocking response. What did he say to you?
Yes, so I went back to him immediately and said, I've sent your steroids back with the driver. Please, can you refund me my money? And he said, yeah, we'll see, when it comes back. And it took a couple of days, and I thought, he's obviously stalling. So I sent him an email and said, look, I'm going to report you to Wendy Knowler, a consumer journalist that talks for 702, 567K Talk, and I'm going to, tell her the story. And he came back in writing, I've got it in writing, saying, we're selling illegal drugs. See how far you get with that.
Wow. Actually in writing, Laura.
Yeah. In writing, yes.
I cannot believe it.
And then I just knew, well, there goes my money.
6,400 rand.
Besides the money, I mean, if people are buying these drugs and it's illegal, and who knows what was in those drugs, that hopefully I actually have lost money, yes, but I'm not injecting any rubbish in my body.
Yeah. I mean, you've actually potentially dodged a bullet there, Laura, because who knows what would have actually been supplied to you if they had, under the guise of being the drug you bought. You also posted a complaint on Hello Peter, and exactly the same response as Danita got, that they contacted Hello Peter and said, take it down, it's not accurate. They said they have refunded you. For the record, Laura, have you been
have not
seen a cent? It has not happened.
Cent. And as for Hello Peter, I've had to send them constant updates. I've had to send them all the correspondence with regards to this, including my correspondence with Wendy, so that they can keep my complaints up there. It's almost as if the consumer who's got a real complaint has to prove constantly to Hello Peter, which is very upsetting, that this is real. I'm not lying. I'm not
The same thing happened to Danita. Yeah. And interestingly, there were a host of positive reviews, and they sort of come up at the top, the more recent ones. But I could see they were posted, new member, first post, December 2023, or November 24, rather, November 2024. And they all started the same way. Lowercase first letter, of the first letter of the first word, not capitalized, which is convention, and just the same style. So I said to Hello Peter, can you please check those out as well, those raves? It's very
dubious. Yeah.
And they were like, we get thousands every day. We check them out in our time, whatever. But I'm very happy to say, when I looked this morning, only Danita and Laura's complaints were there.
Okay, so they've obviously done a cleanup of the fake
raves
ones.
are gone.
Laura, before we let you go and hand over to the Eyewitness News Desk, we will circle back to Juice Heaven's response, by the way, after this. But Laura, more importantly, have you been able to get hands on a legitimate supply of the drugs to see you through the season?
Yes, I have.
Thank heavens.
And I mean, I'm happy to say that I got it from Clicks, Harbour Bay, in Simonstown. And for those people who are taking Ozempic and need their scripts to be renewed, Clicks has got it in stock.
Thank heavens for that. And Laura, I hope that you continue to feel well on it and to do well. And that I'm so relieved I so understand what you've said about this season is such a difficult time for anybody who struggles with weight management. I can just imagine how desperate you must have felt. So I'm so relieved to hear it. And thank you very, very much for being willing to come on air and share your story. And okay, so Laura and Danita both in the same boat of having been sent a steroid they didn't ask for, none of the drug they actually ordered, and their money has not been refunded. Gosh, let's just have a look where we are here. Such an interesting WhatsApp just coming through from Mpho, who says, I'm a dietitian. I too have been contacted by somebody on Instagram claiming to sell Saxenda, which is an iteration of the daily weight loss, in some cases, people using it from Novo. She's using stolen pictures of people who've had plastic surgery done as her before and after photos, claims to be an ex-pharmacist, which means she should not be dispensing. These products need a prescription. Now, Mpho took the step of actually informing Novo's rep so that they're aware of this fake distributor, and they have promised that their legal department will take care of it. Wendy, you've done the same, in fact, as a result of your engagement with Juice Heaven. Now, before the break, we heard from our two complainants, Danita and Laura, about their experience ordering from Juice Heaven online and how what was sent to them was a completely different drug and they've not been able to return it and get a refund. Yeah. You, of course, did the right thing and reached out to Juice Heaven to get their side of the story. Wendy, what happened?
I used the same email address that I had seen that Juice Heaven, the representative's name was Bryce, and Laura corresponding, and I sent him a full media query. I asked him whether or not he'd had the tirzepatide in stock when Laura ordered and paid for it, 6,500 Rand worth. And if so, where he'd got it from, and whether Laura is going to be getting the refund she'd been promised. He did say in the email correspondence, I will refund you minus the delivery fees, which shouldn't have happened in the first place. So remember, she didn't accept it, unlike
Danita accepted it. Laura turned it away on delivery and said, I'm not taking it. Yeah.
So I asked when she was going to be getting that refund, and there's no response. I sent it a second time, no response. But the website is no longer listing tirzepatide for sale.
So if you go to juiceheaven.co.za today, you can't place an order for these drugs any longer. That's something, but of course, Wendy, it's not enough. These people need to be shut down. Colin asking whether either of our complainants have opened a criminal case, because surely this is an obvious case of fraud.
It would be fraud or theft by false pretenses, in other words.
Yeah.
I think it's quite clever and he sent them something.
Yeah.
But, it's clearly, I've seen the pictures. Both of them sent me pictures. It's two different versions of 10 milligrams of
clenbuterol is the drug that they were sent. Yeah. Now, one of the questions you asked Juice Heaven was where they got their stock, because as an online supplier, they're not meant to have it. Wendy, can you maybe just take a moment to explain a little bit what the SA Health Products Regulatory Authority has had to say about these online vendors?
So clearly it is a big problem, because just last month, SAPRA, SA Health Products Regulatory Authority, warned in a press release about the health risks posed by what they termed the proliferation of falsified, compounded and substandard GLP-1 containing products being flogged on websites, social media platforms and other informal channels. I would imagine that would include WhatsApp, which is quite often how these things get marketed. Other medications containing GLP agonists, those are the products that mimic the actions of GLP-1s, pose a public health and safety risk, says SAPRA, because they are not evaluated and therefore may be substandard. And they importantly are therefore illegal in terms of the Medicines and Related Substances Act. So Bryce was right of Juice Heaven.
When he said we're selling an illegal product.
Yes.
Okay.
He was definitely right about that. Pity that wasn't disclosed to would-be buyers on the site. So, Laura and Danita would most certainly not have purchased it. SAPRA says in terms of Section 29 of the Medicines and Related Substances Act, a person who commits an offence shall be held criminally liable and applicable penalties shall be enforced. The Juice Heaven website contains no physical address or phone number, which is illegal in itself in terms of the Electronic Communications and Transactions Act. If you're going to be selling anything online, you need to have those details. So if you're buying anything online and you don't see that, move swiftly
big red flag
on. Yes. So, among the websites which SAPRA has found in the past year to be claiming to be online pharmacies and selling medicines illegally, including falsified and unauthorized versions of semaglutide, which is Ozempic, or tirzepatide, which is
Monjaro.
Monjaro, and that other weirdly named thing. These are them. Juice Heads, which is just a few letters away from Juice
Heaven. Yeah.
.coza, Anabolics ZA, Sally Slimming .coza, and Slim Burn with the Slim spelled SILMN.
Slim and Burn.
Slim and Burn. Yeah. Slim and Burn. Shouldn't be Burn and Slim, but anyway. The above list says SAPRA is not exhaustive, and the public is urged to report any other websites or retail outlets selling these falsified and unauthorized products. So I did just that. I sent the Juice Heaven information and all my interaction with Laura about it to SAPRA. Senior Manager of Compliance, Dion Puven, told me, according to our records, we are not aware of the website Juice Heaven.
Well, they are now. Yes. Thank you, Wendy, and thank you, Laura and Danita, for flagging it. Of course, the frustrating thing, though, Wendy, is they'll probably just pop up in a new guise with a new web address.
Maybe they might change a few more letters than 2 or 3.
And Juice Heads to Juice Heaven, yeah. You also, though, you ran this story by another scientist who is familiar to our audience as somebody who is absolutely passionate about protecting consumer rights, particularly when it comes to medical claims that can't be substantiated. I'm talking about Dr. Harris Steinman, who has done so much work challenging particularly the dubious weight loss products that are
ones,
that don't work.
Claims they can't substantiate.
What did he have to say about this case?
He was my first port of call because he just always is on this type of thing. And he said it was clear that Juice Heaven was claiming to sell products that were prescription only or even prohibited. He said whether the products they sell actually contained the claimed substances would need to be established. Of course. So the bottom line is that, as we keep saying, our fears, whatever they are, baldness, infertility, diabetes, weight loss, whatever, they make us desperate. And if we can't get the drugs that we feel we need, and desperation makes us vulnerable, and there will always be individuals ready to take advantage of that and take our money from us. And as we alluded to earlier, perhaps in Laura and Danita's case, if they had got the tirzepatide or Ozempic through this source, it would most likely have been of the highly dangerous version.
Might have been illegally manufactured in somebody's garage and
could have caused them a lot more harm than financial.
So they might have actually dodged a bullet here, although they are, of course, both out of pocket several thousand rand. And very
almost 10,000 between the two of them.
Okay, well, keep us posted if you hear anything. I'll eat my hat if they ever see that money back from Juice Heaven. But it's a meal I'll be happy to indulge in if it does turn out that way.
And also, if you're looking on websites, because I think one of them did look, and they just saw a bunch of positive ones. Be aware, especially if they're in the same style. And the poster, Joy, made their first post in the very month that you're reading it, or the very month, more to the point, than of their first post. Be very suspicious,
skeptical of the reviews,
those, and go further down. And I would even go, if there's nothing negative, I would go to Hello Peter and say, would any there that the business managed to get you to take off? No,
that's interesting. Yeah,
it's
a real plague. So there's the problem of the illegitimate sale happening. Then there's the problem of the illegitimate review trying to bolster up their reputation when people start complaining. It's a minefield to navigate, and it's worth asking the questions.
In Hello Peter's defense, that they get thousands of posts a day, and if they get a complaint or a query, they do verify them, and it's gratifying that the fake raves in this case have been removed. So we only got the 2 genuine negative posts by Laura and Danita that are sit there as a warning to others. But as we've said, how long they keep trading using that name is probably not going to be very long.
Probably not longer than the end of this hour, I would imagine, Wendy, depending on how closely they're listening. Thank you very much for taking it up, though, and thank you for taking the step of reporting it to the authority. And if you have come across one of these sites offering to sell the drug to you off-label and without a prescription, please do know that the correct thing to do is to report it to the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority, SAHPRA, SAHPRA.